I am Alvin, CEO of Dr. Wealth, and today with me is Christopher Ng. He's our early retirement masterclass trainer.
Hi.
And today we're going to talk about Temasek Bonds, right? And it was in the news that the Temasek Bonds has a coupon rate of 1.8%.
That's right.
Okay,
1.8%.
5 years
5
maturity.
years. 5 years maturity.
Okay, so you get 1.8% per year for the next 5 years, and if you hold until the end, you get to get your principal back, right?
Yep.
And the news said that it has been a very popular bond issue because it was 6 times oversubscribed.
That's right. 6 times oversubscribed.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
so I'm wondering, right? Because personally, I'm not very interested in a bond
That's right.
for 1.8%, and I just wondering who are the people that are subscribing to these Temasek bonds?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea?
God knows. I am probably more interested in Rebecca Lim's upcoming marriage and the very emo statements made by this actor known as Ian Fang than the Temasek bonds. And I think that there are actually academic reasons for doing so. Our current inflation rate is 3.2%.
Okay.
Yeah. So why would I get an instrument that would give me 1.8% when currently there is a spike in our interest rates, right? So I really don't know what are the kind of people that would actually buy the Temasek bonds. Nevertheless, maybe they are ultra rich, right? And or you could be a foreigner who has who believes that the Singapore dollar will basically outperform compared to their home currency. So the 1.8% lies on top of the appreciation of the Sing dollar.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just my guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also trying to brainstorm, right? Who are
Yeah.
likely the investors of these Temasek bonds, and I'm thinking that because I have looked at the Singapore average household balance sheet before, or the household assets lah,
Okay.
and we see that there's a big chunk of average household asset, about 20% in cash,
Okay.
which means it's earning less than 1.8%. Typically, right?
Could be
So it
0.05.
could be they were thinking, oh yeah, this is earning 1.8% and my bank is paying like point something percent, and maybe I just put like 20,000, 30,000, or even 50,000 into this. I still have a lot of cash in the bank. Okay, I think
Yeah.
one group of these potential investors are probably those who have a lot of cash that is earning even less than 1.8% in bank deposit or even fixed deposit, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
fixed
right.
deposit could even be lower than 1.8% for different tenures, right? So I think that is one possible group. Chris, talk about foreigners.
Yeah,
Can
foreigners.
you think of other groups that's possible that will buy these bonds?
Maybe the ignorant. Yeah, because it's true. Most of us in our households, Singaporeans, there are two prevailing beliefs, right? That's actually quite difficult to dislodge, right? The first idea is cash is king, and so by putting money in a bank account, maybe it keeps you secure and makes you happy. And then there is the other element where they put their money into a piece of real estate, and I think a lot of our households put our money there, and hopefully they will make more than 1.8% over the next 5 years, right? Given that private property is doing quite well, so that might actually be a better choice.
Okay.
Yeah, but I find it very, very difficult to accept that someone would actually buy a bond that will pay 1.8% for the next 5 years. Yeah.
Maybe they
Yeah.
were weighted more towards safety, right?
Right.
Preservation of capital is more important than potential gains. Right? For example, they plan to have a big purchase. They are going to buy a house 5 years down the road.
Right.
They cannot afford to lose any of this capital because if you put
Yeah.
in stock market, you never know whether 5 years later you'll crash or not, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they are planning for some big purchase items, and this just happen to fit into their financial planning horizon. And say, okay, let's park this amount, and anyway we get 1.8%, and Temasek is like quasi-government.
Right.
It's not likely to go bust, right? If you really go bust, I think the whole Singapore is probably gone.
I think that there might be another reason, but highly unlikely. So bonds have this thing known as a duration. Okay, so the longer the duration, the larger the price changes relative to a change of the interest rate. So if you have this strong belief that the interest rate is actually going to go down, then there might be a reason to buy the bond. Yeah, but right now we are not in that regime. We are likely to see increase in interest rates. Rome Powell is re-elected, right? So yeah, he's sort of like patron saint of inflation, right? So,
But it could be a possible thinking that they think if I just hold the bonds until maturity, right, my principal is guaranteed. Yes, in between the bond prices may go because of interest rate, but as long as I'm gonna hold until the 5th year, I'll get back all my money.
Yeah, that's probably the reason what's animating these bonds to be oversubscribed right now. If you are willing to hold all the way, then it really doesn't matter what interest rates are. You're going to get your principal back after 5 years. After all, it's Temasek and it's purely guaranteed.
So in your personal context, you don't view such bonds as part of your retirement funding or retirement planning?
Okay, it's actually a lot. My thoughts are actually much more complicated than this. I think that if you're thinking about retirement, you can't avoid this idea known as the safe rate withdrawal. And the industry number has been 4% for very long. And then if you look at the latest research that's coming out with all these financial advisors talking a lot of smack on this withdrawal rate, you notice that they're slowly lowering it to about 3.5 and then now to 3.3%. And if you find out why, it's because bonds are not giving out as much returns as before, right? And so I think the intelligent thing is not to actually lower your withdrawal rate because it makes your life a lot more miserable, right? Imagine you're a millionaire and then you can only spend $30,000 a year, right? Or worse, you get a financial advisor who does all his numbers to conclude that you can only spend $30,000 a year, and you work so hard for your money, right? So I think there's something a little bit unrealistic about that. I thought maybe the solution is to swap out the bonds and replace it with REITs. Now, the reason why REITs are probably hardier against an increase in interest rates is this. Suppose I own a set of warehouses and I let you lease it. You put your stuff in my warehouse, there's e-commerce going on. When the interest rate were to go up, I can raise my rent because if you do not rent my warehouses, where are you going to put all your inventory? And we know you're making money in e-commerce. So if you speak to a lot of REIT managers as well as their bosses, ask them what's going to happen when interest rates go up. They're going to say, actually, I will pass it on to the tenant, right? Yeah, and you want this kind of high quality kind of properties. And I could think of at least 2 other REITs right now that is getting me a lot more excited than Temasek Bonds, right? So the first is the Data Center Trust. I think it's Digital Realty or something. The other one is
Digital Core.
Digital Core, right? Digital Core. And the second one is the Daiwa, I think, Logistics Trust. And I think both of these give very much more than 1.8%. Yeah, and so while it doesn't, but although these are actually equity investments, for me as well as my community, we've sort of moved out of bonds, and at least as far as we're concerned, REITs is the new bond to us, right? Yeah, it's like you talk to Gen Z, you say, why are you not having children, right? Oh, they say, oh no, we're not having children anymore because pets have replaced children. And you know what has replaced pets? Plants have replaced pets. So I think maybe rocks have replaced plants, right? You have to have a plant, mineral, and animal kingdom kind of swap. Yeah, so I think that's what I learned from your stuff.
So things have changed, right? Basically, that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I think
the REITs are the new bonds.
REITs are the new bonds.
Yeah, and crypto is probably the new stocks.
Crypto is the new commodity.
Okay,
yeah, because you see, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Because when the earlier books on cryptocurrency, before they knew what was going on, they always say that you put crypto into the same asset pool as commodities, because that's where gold is, right? And crypto is also a very strong defense against like overprinting of currency. Yeah, so actually the idea about crypto coming into the commodity space makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and
so all these are brought about by a super low inflation period, low interest rate environment for a long time.
For a long time,
so
yeah.
The definition of all these investment assets have changed as well.
Yeah, so that's yeah. So there might be a new form of asset allocation, yeah, involving REITs and crypto very soon. Yeah, so maybe I'll cover it next year. Yeah.
Right, so we will move on to the next section,
Okay.
which is that, we try to think about some of the famous people. Do you think they will buy Temasek bonds? Okay.
Okay.
So let's start from the top and let's look at our Prime Minister, our Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. Do you think he will be someone who will buy the Temasek bond at 1.8%?
He might buy to signal his confidence in the Singapore economy, but as an accredited investor, I think he would have, I'm sure, much better choices, right, available to him. Yeah. So I really wouldn't know. I don't even know
It's
whether
more
he's allowed
like a
to buy.
signaling thing.
Yeah, whether there's even a conflict of interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or how about the wife, Ho Ching, who used to be, the chairman of Temasek, right? So, do you think she will have an investment in Temasek bonds as well?
Actually, it's a funny thing that you mentioned Ho Ching. I would think that, given that there are Temasek bonds, and given that there is the Astria 5, 4, 5, and 6 bonds by Azalia, right? And I think I was doing some yield to maturity study a while ago, and I think for at least 5 and 6, the yield to maturity is, I think, higher than 1.8. I think so. I don't have my numbers right now. So if I were her, I might buy the other bond instead. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's ample liquidity for all three right now in the markets, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But of course, some may argue that
Yeah.
they're already so rich, they don't need to invest the money, and they will, since the retail tranche is like oversubscribed, they want to give
I
other
don't
people
think they
a
want
chance,
to compete with ordinary people, not
Okay.
not over
Okay.
1.8%.
How about our opposition leader, Pritam Singh? Do you think, for whatever political reason, they will never buy a so-called investment product from the government?
Okay, with Pritam Singh, I would use a different kind of analysis, right? He has a fairly substantial allowance. In fact, his allowance, I think, as leader of the opposition, is double that of an ordinary MP.
Okay.
And I think it's a fixed number. It's not tied to any like SIBOR or any GDP numbers, right?
Okay.
So if you go by the logic, while he is the leader of the opposition, his salary has a very bond-like kind of characteristic, right? And in such a case, you don't need another bond to stabilize your human capital, right? So if I were Pritam Singh, and he's my senior in the Juris Doctor program, I would go for something quite risky. Yeah, I would definitely.
Such as?
Of course, at the bottom level, if you were to get into like an equity ETF, that would make sense. Of course, the devil's in the details, right? Yeah, but given that your opposition and you're a little bit counterculture, why not? Why not some crypto? Why not?
Okay.
Why not? Right?
Why not?
Yeah.
But on that note, right,
Yeah.
the government or even Monetary Authority of Singapore has came out to say that they are actually supportive of crypto culture in Singapore. Singapore wants to be one of the leaders in cryptocurrency in the world. If not, Singapore will fall behind, right? Yeah. So how does that tie it being a bit anti-establishment?
Okay, if you read a little bit of history, a lot of this, the way our financial institutions are run, it came out from Goh Keng Swee, right? And when Goh Keng Swee was, I would say, like number 2 guy in Singapore, he did a lot of things that were out of the norm when you compare with what other countries are doing. Like, for example, the way MAS manages the SNIA, right, against a basket of currencies along a channel, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Somehow he came up with it when everybody was thinking about like monetary policy as being an adjustment of interest rates. So Goh Keng Swee is what they would term a buccaneer, he's almost like a pirate. So you read about him going to South Africa to buy gold when there is a prohibition to buy gold from Africa. So he's done a lot of this buccaneering, some heroic traits. So I would think that if the people in MAS or the people in GIC, if they have that spirit of Goh Keng Swee, then I would say that Singapore should lead every other country in this crypto revolution. I think for me, the first thing you want to do is that in your foreign reserves, right? I've always been asking myself, I say it doesn't make sense. Goh Keng Swee would put Bitcoin into that short-term reserve so that if the Bitcoins or the cryptocurrency were to moon, you have this big pool to intervene, right? And really mess up all the forex currency traders who try to disturb our currency. So that's one area that cryptocurrency can go into. The other area is if you're saving your money for another rainy day, if you want to recover from the COVID pandemic, I think we spent $50 billion, right? So why not put in a certain amount of our savings that actually do indirectly come from our CPF? Why not put it into some crypto-related businesses or crypto itself, right? I'm not sure whether they can get the political approval necessary
The
to
funny
do that.
thing is that because...
But I think it's a good idea,
yeah,
personally.
the funny thing is that because crypto is pseudonymous, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe Singapore Reserve already have cryptocurrencies. It's a possibility, right? They don't need to announce to anybody because the reserve has never been announced to anybody.
Yeah, it's never been reserved. Yeah, correct.
So who knows?
Yeah,
I think there's a good chance.
Yeah, so maybe there is a vault with a lot of hardware ledgers there and
all the private wallet keys.
Yeah,
inside,
the
right?
private wallet keys, and if their timing is right, you know, yeah. I've always wondered whether we have enough money for the entire island to just fire and everybody to just become financially.
Who knows, man? Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah.
Nobody knows that exact number. Probably only 1 or 2% in Singapore.
So when I was young, my dad always had this idea. Yeah, but he doesn't have any evidence. Yeah.
Okay. And let's move beyond politics. Okay? So since you're so into like this Rebecca thing, right?
Okay.
Do you think celebrities like Rebecca Lim will buy Temasek bonds?
Okay, so actually we can use the same framework to find out whether celebrities should buy Temasek bonds.
Okay.
Right? So if you look
this is not financial advice for you, unless you're a celebrity.
Yeah, it might be financial advice, but you have to understand my logic. Now, what is the income characteristic of a celebrity? Right? I would guess because I don't know. I would guess that it would be equity-like. Equity-like meaning that
volatile. Some months you earn more, some months you earn less.
Because if Rebecca, for example, has gold hard jewelry like advertising gigs where she gets a lot of extra money, like showing her face, then she probably gets a very high paycheck at the end of the year, right? But if she doesn't, then maybe there is a certain base allowance that MediaCorp gives her, and that amount of money, probably very humble. My guess is very humble, right? Yeah. So in this kind of equity kind of situation, then actually you should get bonds into her portfolio. Yeah. So the Temasek bonds would actually suit Rebecca, although if I were in your shoes, I would be better off getting into the REIT IPOs.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she might not have the time to analyze, right? So so she probably better off is just buying a bond and just leave it there.
Well, apparently her husband has 3 dogs, and if you have time for 3 dogs, you have time to like figure out which REITs that you can add to your portfolio.
Different. Dogs are not numbers, you know. They're a lot more interesting, right, than looking at financial reports.
I don't know whether you can like get rid of a dog, you know, so that there's more time to
let the dog
analyze and build a portfolio.
Or let the dog pick the REITs. You never know, it might work.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's like maybe like Cheng, you know, Cheng spends $1,000 on his dog every month, right?
Need to make the dog work back the money. The dog should pick stocks. If it doesn't make money, then get rid of the dog. It's a useless dog. Just kidding, right?
Yeah, just kidding.
How about older celebrity, right? Rebecca Lim is considered quite on the younger side, right?
On the younger side, okay.
How about like Gurmit Singh?
Gurmit Singh is an investment expert. He appears in a lot of these.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. He has gone through the investment course.
So he's gone through investment course. I think
so. He shouldn't be buying Temasek bonds.
He can look after himself.
Yeah. Okay. Agree. He seems like an expert now.
Yeah. But I would say Gurmit Singh's income has a fairly equity-like component as well.
Similar.
So I would say bonds and real estate should have a room in his portfolio.
Okay.
I would be surprised if he's not collecting rent from some property. He's been a celebrity for many years and a very successful one. So yeah.
Okay.
So I would be very surprised.
So your principle is still whether the source of income? Is it more bond-like or equity-like?
Yeah, I think a lot of us will be focused on asset allocation, we focus on our financial wealth, but very few people look at your human capital, which is how much you expect to earn over your lifetime, right? And it's interesting you mentioned Gurmit and Rebecca. The harsh truth, and I'm going to get hammered for saying this, right, is that if you're a female celebrity, you don't have a longer runway, right? I think if you look at Hollywood, you look at female actresses, well, they're good looking, they're young, they make a lot of money at the front end, so it's very front loaded, right? So in that case, they should consider a less risky kind of portfolio arrangement over time.
But there are always roles for grandmothers, right?
Yeah, except that you know who they are. Like in the US, it's always Meryl Streep, you know, Judi Dench, you know, these are
so you're saying that the pool gets narrower.
Yeah, the pool gets narrower and narrower, right? Yeah, now you don't even see Megan Fox in the movies anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
What was the last movie that Megan Fox has appeared?
She's, I think, coming up in the Expendables. I think they're working on it. Yeah. So I think if you are a female celebrity, you really have to think about this kind of thing. The money and the fame, it's very temporary, and you really cannot benchmark it against a male actor, because somehow the male actors have a very long runway. Right, like even those that look like clowns when you're young, somehow you develop the grey hair. You know, you can
become more macho.
Yeah, become some
James Bond.
Yeah, James Bond is kind of old, right? I mean, the actor, and actually he's still got a lot of acting gigs available for him. Yeah.
Okay, so another belief is that bonds are suitable for older people, right? Because they cannot take equity kind of risk. So would you think that your mother is suitable? For Temasek bonds?
I manage my mother's portfolio. No, I do not intend to get into Temasek bonds. Okay,
but let's say you know, for whatever reason you are not managing it for her anymore. What would you advise her if she come to you?
I still wouldn't go for Temasek bonds, because there's an added level of complexity, because you get the principal back after 5 years. And then you have to reinvest it, and there's a certain risk. When you reinvest it, what are the instruments available to you when you get your principal return, right? Yeah, so I wouldn't go for the bond. I will still think that in my mom's case, a very, very conservative business trust or REIT. And I always tell people that when I get stopped on the street, or some if I meet some secondary school classmate who just wants to pester me about stock picks, and I want to like disappear, I want to avoid the person, or that I'll normally just tell them Netlink Trust. Yeah, because Netlink Trust gives you 5%. You're basically renting out fiber optics, cables, cabling work, and all that, right? And and so it's one of those things that really cannot go wrong. And so for me, my challenge for my mom's portfolio is always to find a class of investments, right, that resemble Netlink Trust. That's my model for me. Yeah. So you'll find that something like a Sendas REIT comes very close, right? Because it's an industrial REIT, 5%, no drama when you buy it. Doesn't kick up a fuss.
So even for your mother, you won't recommend Temasek Bond?
No, I have a great relationship with my mother. I would not recommend Temasek Bonds.
How about someone like 1M65, who is very pro CPF, right? With that kind of capital guaranteed, interest guaranteed. So it sounds like very Temasek Bond like. Do you think he will invest in Temasek Bond?
I have great respect for Mr. Lu. I would say that when I put my own money into CPF, even though I do criticize his ideas on my blog a lot, unlike other people who criticize him, I actually do what he say, and then I'll tell people how difficult or how painful it is to do what he say. All right, so actually, in that sense, I do follow what he does. There are rumors that Mr. Lu is publicly very conservative and very safe, but privately he's a very, very highly skilled risk taker. So my money is on him not touching it with a 10-foot pole. That's my money.
So you think that he won't touch?
No. He definitely wants something more exciting in his life. I don't think he wants to do that. Yeah.
Oh, how about the runner? Soo Ri-yong, right? Soo Ri-yong.
Yeah.
How about So Ryong?
Um,
Athlete, right? Is his salary more bond-like or equity-like?
his salary, I would say, is more actually, regardless of what his salary is, the legal risk that he puts himself into is very high.
Okay, so
Okay,
so he
so-
should buy the Temasek Bond.
I think the Temasek bonds might be too risky for him because you need some liquidity, right, to be able to resolve any legal problems you have in other
But it doesn't
people.
matter. He
If I
can
were
always
him,
crowdfund a legal fees online. He's an influencer, right?
I suspect he's not
Or he
very
can run away
successful.
fast enough since he
In this particular case, I don't think he raised enough money to fight off
Really?
the. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know. I only I do not check how much he has raised so far. Yeah, but if I were him, I would put my cash in a bank deposit account simply because of the sheer amount of legal risk that he puts himself at. Yeah.
Then how about, since
Yeah.
you talk about legal risk, how about Goh Meng Seng, who you always like to flame on social media, right? So do you think he'll buy Temasek Bond, or do you think he should buy Temasek Bond?
I think his priority now is to deal with the Ministry of Health and the kind of things that he has been promoting in public. Yeah. Recently on social media, he wasn't even able to get a ticket to get out of the country.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wish Goh Meng Seng all the best. And I don't think Goh Meng Seng would allow himself to touch Temasek bonds. It would be interesting if he tries to prove me wrong by actually buying some. Yeah, but he really should look after himself. Yeah, and I hope that everybody listening to me will encourage him to get vaccinated from COVID-19. Yeah.
All right. So there are a bunch of advice, not just like some tidbits of financial knowledge.
Yeah.
But we try, the purpose of this conversation
Yeah.
is to really understand who are the ones that are really buying the Temasek bonds, given its
Yeah.
apparently lower interest rates as compared to a lot of other investments, right? And we're just brainstorming different kind of personalities and situation, and so Chris give the opinion and views like how they should manage it.
Yeah, I think just to summarize everything, right? Understand where your income comes from, right? If your income has a very strong equity component, in other words, you don't even know how much you're going to earn at the end of the year. Like for example, your real estate agent, your financial advisor, right? Your human capital has an equity-like component. You might want to consider Temasek bonds.
essentially
right? Because-
salespeople.
Yeah, salespeople, right? You might want to consider Temasek bonds because it is relatively risk-free and low volatility, right? However, if you have a fixed salary, you know how much you're going to earn at the end of the year, it's not going to move very much. Like for example, you're a government servant, then by all means, you can skip the Temasek bonds and get something that can give you a higher return. That's it.
Yes. Okay. So
Yeah.
consider your human capital.
That's
how
right.
variable it is, so you will
Yeah.
decide whether your investment should be higher risk or lower risk,
Right.
right? So I hope you get some ideas from here, and look forward to the next video that we'll do for you, right? If you like what we have shared, like this video and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you the next time.
Bye.